Welcome to the FinTech Combine. I am your host, Kris Kovacs, and this is the show where we talk with and sometimes about community-based institutions, their adoption of digital technology, and we speak with the FinTech founders who are bringing that technology to them. Today, we're talking to one of my very favorite people, Tonya Van Court, the founder and CEO of Goalsetter. We're talking about her journey, her amazing product, and her advice for other entrepreneurs like her. So if you're ready, let's get out on the field. Hello, Tonya. Welcome to the FinTech Combine. It's great to have you today.
Thank you, Kris. It's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you are one of the people I really look up to in this industry, and I wanted to make sure that we showcased you and the great work you're doing and the amazing work of Goalsetter. But before we get into all of that, give me a little bit of background and take me back to the beginning about what inspired you to create Goalsetter.
Listen, if you ask me to take you back to the beginning, you know I'm literally going to go back to the beginning. So be careful what you wish for, my friend.
Of course.
But truly, I mean, I think all of our journeys are inspired by and informed by who we are and our life experiences. And for me, my mom was an elementary school teacher in Oakland, California. She was a single mom of 6 kids who used to bring home more kids on the weekends, much to my oldest sister's chagrin. She would say, "Mommy, we have enough. What are you doing?" But she really was committed to closing gaps and building bridges in our community. And so I think that's a very important part of my DNA and why I have taken this path that I've taken and an important part of who we are as a company today. So fast forward a little bit, my elementary school mom taught me everything that she could about everything she could possibly teach me. I skipped kindergarten. So, I tell everyone I could color better than the rest of you could, Kris. And ended up going to Stanford, getting 2 degrees in engineering. So everyone thought, wow, Tonya's the smart one in the family. And that appeared to be true until I was in my late 20s working for a company in Silicon Valley. They gave me a bunch of stock and stock options. And lo and behold, Tonya was not the smart one when it came to stock and stock options. I had no idea what they were. I had no idea what to do with them. So I just left them there. Kept my head down, did my job. When I was 28, the stock was worth about $1 million. And the company had done very well, and that was super exciting. But that $1 million valuation was at the beginning of the day, Kris, because by the end of the day, the big tech bubble had burst. And that $1 million went down to about $20,000 by the end of the day. And you can imagine the horror in my face as I looked at that graph on my Morgan Stanley account, like just plummeting. But I realized a couple of things. The first thing I realized was I didn't know if I could have done anything different or not. Like I literally didn't know if I had made a big mistake or if it was like a tornado that just whirled through everything and there was really nothing that I could do. I didn't know the concepts of asset allocation or diversification. So I couldn't have told you what I could have done differently. The second thing that I realized was I couldn't turn back the hands of time. All I could do is make sure that I did things differently moving forward. And for me in particular, I thought, well, if I can make sure that my kids don't make this same mistake, that's probably the greatest gift that I can give to my kids. I didn't have kids at the time. Fast forward several years, I had my daughter, Gabrielle, and I started teaching her everything I could about money from the time she was born. And when she was 8 years old, about to turn 9, I said, "Gabrielle, what do you want for your birthday?" And she said, "Mommy, I really only want 2 things. And I thought, thank goodness she knows what she wants, because look, Kris, I know you have kids and all these kids have way too much stuff, right?
Yes, of course.
And a birthday or a holiday rolls around and you're like, I don't know what to get you. Like, you've got more stuff than I do. Why? You should be getting me something for your birthday, right?
Right.
So I thought, I have no idea what to get her. I'm so glad she knows what she wants. Gabrielle, what do you want? And she said, I really only want enough money to open an investment account and a bike.
Boom.
Boom. Boom. And in that moment, I thought, wow, if I can get every kid who's 8 like you to say that, I can change the world. And so that was the beginning of Goalsetter. That was what led me to say, I need to go into this financial technology space and really transform the way that we are bringing financial services to the next generation, because it has not been fun or exciting or engaging for them before. And we have an opportunity to make it something that is on the tips of their tongues, something that is conversational for them, something that is exciting for them, something that is engaging for them. And that's what I wanted to do for not just my daughter, but for everyone's son and daughter out there.
So how did you pivot from being, a Bay Area engineer to, certainly doing a great job coaching your daughter, to saying, now I'm going to actually coach and educate potentially millions of children? Like, what did you draw from for that kind of education, that kind of communication with young people? Because it's a hard group to get to.
It is a hard group to get to. And I guess I should have told you, I had a couple stops in between being a Bay Area engineer and being a Brooklyn mom. And my couple of stops were that I was actually an executive at Nickelodeon. I ran nickjr.com and noggin.com. I was an executive at Discovery Education. I helped to launch digital textbooks into classrooms across the country. And I led the launch of ESPN3, which was the first digital video streaming player in the cable industry, while working at ESPN. And so I had this really great background in education meets entertainment meets gamification. And how do you do that for kids and families with robust and cutting edge digital products? So that was the stop I made along the way. And so, to your great point, Kris, after making those stops, what I realized was, wow, I had this whole tool set that could make kids laugh, could make kids have fun, could make kids engage, could teach kids things. And why not use that whole tool set for the world of finance, as opposed to using it, just in the world of Nickelodeon? So those were the tools and the skills that we brought to bear as a company when we started to build Goalsetter. We didn't just look at, hey, what are adult fintech companies doing, and how do we shoehorn that into the kids space? Right. Instead, we went out and we said, what do kids love to do, and where do they love to spend time? And how do we take a nod from there and bring it into the finance space for kids? So kids love to be on TikTok and YouTube and Snapchat and Instagram. What are the interactions that they love about those spaces? And how do we allow those to inform the building of a product that will interact with and engage kids?
So this is the holy grail, right, for most community institutions, right? Let's attract the next generation of customers and members to our institution. What are the challenges that you feel like some of the institutions run into as they're trying to implement services like yours?
It's a really interesting question. What are the challenges that financial institutions run into when they are trying to implement a next generation fintech solution? I think the obvious challenge is that financial institutions have historically not been that fun and engaging for the next generation, right? It's not what they do. And in all fairness, it's really not what they should know how to do. These are the institutions that we are looking to keep our money safe, to come up with the next set of financial products and services that will help to level the playing field and give people access and allow people the financial instruments that can help them to buy a house and send their kids to college. Like, that's what we want them to be great at. We want them to be great at security and compliance. We want them to be great at those things. We don't want everyone at every financial institution to be an executive producer for the next kid's show. That's not their forte. But with that being said, kids kind of expect it all, right? They expect for you to provide them with all of the banking services that they need and the financial services that they need. And they expect for you to be fun and engaging and funny and, kind of like the next TikTok influencer too. They expect both of those because that's the world that they've grown up in. So I think the major challenge that many financial institutions have faced is, that they are, by virtue of their DNA, they're financial institutions, and that's not so fun and engaging to kids. And so it really is about how do they partner with companies like Goalsetter, where this is what we do for a living, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we're great at. When we want to create a video, I know exactly who to call. When we want to write a script, I know exactly who has written scripts before that are funny and fun and engaging and exactly targeted to this demo. Like, that's the world that I have always played in. And so to bring our network to bear and our skill set to bear and our engagement to bear on the work that they're doing every day, that's really important work, that's like a perfect marriage, right? It's like opposites attract. Well, this is like, opposites attract, and we marry a fintech, a fun kids fintech with a very important financial institution and the work that they're doing, and we deliver that as a lovely package to the kids who are waiting for something that's groundbreaking.
What do you tell the implementer, the person at the institution, right, as you're working with them? Because your model is you actually have a standalone application, right, that integrates to the credit union core. I'll let you talk a little bit about that. But I was having this conversation about youth banking with a credit union executive, and they were asking, well, can I just put it inside my online banking system? Right. And part of my challenge was, if you expect youth to get through and look through your online banking system to find the value for them, talk a little bit about your deployment model and why that's better than trying to build a super app that puts it all in one place.
100%, Kris. And, truly, I think a lot of times when I talk to cable union executives and say, trust me, you don't want this built into your mobile app. In the first 2 seconds, they think, wait a minute, she's just selling me her solution. And then as I go on to start to explain it, they realize, okay, maybe she's not just selling. Maybe she's actually been thoughtful about this and is right. But the truth of the matter is, their app, if you do the integration and create this whole super app, you've done probably a year's worth of integration work. So number one, you're getting to the market very slowly. And this is a market that is very rapidly moving, right? Credit union executives want to be in this market as quickly as possible because there are lots of teen and tween fintech companies out there that are eating this next generation for lunch, for breakfast, and for dinner. They are trying to, get every one of them that they can. And so it's really important that credit union execs get to market as soon as possible. They're not going to do that waiting for a huge integration with that online banking app. But the second thing is, once they have that integration, now they have just confused that next generation kid who's like, wait a minute, what's all this stuff about mortgages and loans? I don't have a mortgage. I don't have an auto loan. I'm 14, right? Kids want to feel like something is made for them, personalized for them, customized for them, in their voice, in their sensibility, fun and engaging. They absolutely, we've done tons of focus groups with kids, and we did focus groups when we were developing Goalsetter, the app. We would put the app in front of kids and they would say, this feels so great. It doesn't feel like my mom's banking app. So they actually don't want the existing financial institution's banking app at all. Now, if you take the existing institution's banking app and then you pour the Goalsetter app into it and make it even more obtuse and inaccessible, that's probably even a worse use case scenario. So it really is about, how do you provide them with a fun and engaging app that is exactly what they are looking for and what they're used to experiencing in other domains. That's the first part. But the second part is, kids change all the time. Their needs change all the time. Their sensibilities change all the time. And we are constantly updating our Goalsetter app to keep up with all of those changing needs and requirements. If that app is built into your online banking tool, there is no way that you will be able to move as quickly as we need to move in order to continue to innovate for this next generation. And so even if you get the app out in some sort of a reasonable time period, you will quickly fall behind. And then the next fintech is going to continue to add features onto their services and eclipse you. And that's exactly what we don't want. So we want something that is nimble, that is quick, that is customized and personalized for this next generation, and that allows credit unions to continue to be competitive. And that's exactly why you want a separate app.
Talk a little bit about the differentiated features that your app has versus other youth banking applications.
Well, that's a great question, Kris. And, part of the differentiated feature is that number one, we call ourselves family banking and not youth banking. And it's not just a moniker. It is truly that we have financial education for every member of the household, from kindergarten all the way through the parent. And that is appealing to parents in a way that just getting a teen and tween debit card into your kids' hands is not. So, very early on, I remember there was a woman who was one of our users. I will call her E. Dunn for the purposes of, keeping her identity safe. But she was in California. And so E, I knew, only had one kid on her goals, only had one kid in her family. But she had three kids on her Goalsetter profile. So I called her up one day and I said, what are you doing? You got three kids on your Goalsetter profile, but I've talked to you before. I know you only have one kid. And she said, I love Goalsetter's financial education so much for my kid. It's teaching me things that my husband and I wanted to use it for ourselves too. So we created kid profiles with our names. And so that was the big light bulb for me, that the way in which we are serving families is so much beyond just their kid. So the first thing that I would say is we're actually serving families. The second thing that I would say is that our financial education is the most robust financial education that you can find in the industry. And literally, when you're in kindergarten, you may be getting a weekly quiz that is all about needs versus wants and talks about Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse are headed to Disney World. Which of the following things does Minnie need to take with her? Does she need to take her bows? Does she need to take food? Does she need to take money? So we're teaching kids very early. But when you're 16 as a kid, now we're teaching you about the difference between APY and APR. And so literally at 52 weeks of every year, you are getting a different financial education quiz when you're 5, when you're 6, when you're 7. And so there is no more robust financial education than Goalsetter. That's the second thing. The third is that we've built all of that financial education into our tool set. And we've done it truly by consulting with one of the leading game designers in the world, not just in the country. So what that leading game designer told us is whenever you design a good game, it has to have both a reward mechanism and a penalty mechanism. So, gamification for us is really important. We know that it's how kids are going to learn. We're not just putting financial education in the app and sticking it over to the side somewhere and hoping they get there. That doesn't work. So we've gamified our whole experience and actually tied the financial education to the tools. So as an example, our reward-based experience for our debit card is called Learn to Earn. You can pay your kids for every quiz question they get right on a weekly basis. You can pay them a dime, you can pay them $1, you can pay them anything in between. We only open up 10 quiz questions per week for each kid, and a kid has to score 8, 9, or 10 on this week's quiz in order to unlock the next week's quiz. But we also have a penalty-based mechanism, and that's called Learn Before You Burn. On Sunday morning, your kid's debit card will automatically freeze if they haven't taken their financial literacy quiz for the week yet. The minute they take that quiz, the card will unfreeze again. And so we are making sure that kids are actually engaged in the learning, and we're helping their parents because their parents don't have to run behind them and say, did you take your quiz? Did you do your financial education? And it's truly been a game changer, Kris. We are seeing, I've spoken at a couple of conferences where literally I had moms waiting to talk to me afterwards. And one mom said, you've completely changed my kid's life. And I said, how? And she said, my kid had a normal debit card. It was like pouring money down the tube. Every week they would say, can I have more money? And I'd send them more money. Can I have more money? And, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. She said it was causing so many arguments between my husband and I because he's like, what is this? This is not what we planned. This is just teaching them how to spend more money and spend more of our money. And she said, but, now with Goalsetter, my kid has saved in the past 1 year $3,000 and is taking his weekly financial education quizzes every week.
Wow.
It has completely transformed his perspective on money and saving and being goal oriented. And that's what, while seemingly all of these apps are in the same place, app design makes a difference. The perspective that the app comes from makes a difference, right? We're called Goalsetter for a reason. We're all about saving for goals and teaching kids to be goal setters. And so our experience and what we're delivering for families is fundamentally different.
You are such a terrific entrepreneur. Every time we chat, I learn so much from you. What inspired you to be an entrepreneur, right? Because you and I have chatted, like this isn't an easy road that we chose, right? What was your inspiration? What are some of the challenges you've had to overcome to get where you are today?
Chris, thank you for asking that question. Because, for me, I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I'm risk averse. I had great jobs in corporate America. I was
Mhm.
making plenty of money. I had more time to spend with my family. But for me, truly, I asked myself on that day when my daughter said, I want enough money to save for an investment account and a bike. I asked myself, if not me, then who? If I don't do this for the world, then who will? And who will teach all of these kids? Who will help to close gaps in communities that exist because people don't know about financial education. They don't know about saving or investing. They're getting themselves into debt in many instances because, they're not aware that there's an alternative to the local check cashing place. I mean, we have entire communities that are suffering financially for many reasons in our country, but certainly I believe a big piece of it is knowledge. And I really felt like if I didn't do this, that all of these communities would continue to get products that they often get from Silicon Valley, right? Cash App, I hate to say it, but Cash App, Venmo, etc. We're all users. Have they transformed the lives of any family in a direction of asset building or wealth creation?
Mhm.
Probably not, right? They're
Right.
teaching people how to send money and spend money. The founders of those companies are getting rich off the backs of, in many instances, people who are getting poor and who are just, spending, 90 cents at a time or 75 cents at a time. And so the point for me was I really wanted to do something that had a chance of changing America and changing the world. And I believe if we can truly educate the next generation, that we've got a shot of doing that. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, I really do believe that all things happen for a reason. And my pivot so that we are not at all focused on direct to consumer. We don't go out and spend a single marketing dollar competing with our credit union partners. That's not who we are. It's not what we do. We spend all of our time and our energy and our focus on empowering credit unions to get their next generation of customers. We've designed our solutions so that we are integrating with the core of the credit union so that they are holding the deposits. Everything we do is credit union first. And so why that? Why that is because I've been a credit union member for the past 25 years. My credit union is Unitas Community Credit Union in Portland, Oregon. I live 3,000 miles away in Brooklyn, New York, and have lived 3,000 miles away for the past 20 years. But credit unions to me are the fabric of communities. They are the ones who gave me a PPP loan when my, large bank that I banked with for the business side, when they ignored me and were called out in the media for ignoring people like me, right? The credit unions and community banks were the ones who were coming to the rescue of folks like me. And that's not just on the business side. That's on the, those are the people who I know who live in my community every day. And when they need support and when they need help, they go to their local credit union. So that's why that's important to me. I don't want every bank account to be served out of Silicon Valley. I think it's bad for America. I think it's bad for communities. And I want to help credit unions to win and to not just win, but literally to dominate in this next 10 to 20 years.
That's amazing and inspirational. It's like that International Credit Union Day is later this week as we're recording it, right? But that really is very, very inspirational. One of the things that we like to do with this series is we like to talk to the next generation of entrepreneurs, right? So you are simply one of the best, right? I've pitched against you and lost, right? Because you're so good at it. What would you tell the next generation of entrepreneurs about how to move ahead, how to bring an idea that they may have like you, it's kind of this lightning strike moment, right? to take their idea and actually bring it to the marketplace?
Listen, Kris, this is where I get to tell all of your listeners the truth about our relationship, that you are the reason that I am doing as well as we are doing as a company in the credit union space. We didn't know credit unions. We didn't know the leadership of credit unions. We didn't know the conferences that we should be at. We didn't know any of those things. And I happened to sit next to this amazing human being, a person who said, I love what you're doing and I will help you. Here's my card. I still have your card. Here's my card. I'll help you. And the truth of the matter is, I tell people a lot of times, Kris, that this journey for me, I happen to be a female entrepreneur. I happen to be an entrepreneur of color. And we all know those statistics, right? I mean, female entrepreneurs get less than 10% of the VC funding in the country. Those statistics are reality. They are real. When I go and pitch, there's a 98% chance I'm not going to get the funding, right? And so I have to be more vigilant. I have to be more prepared. I have to be dogged. I have to put on my armor every day I get up to go to work, because it's going to be tough. And I have to be, battle ready and not battle weary. And so all of those are what I do. But what I do is only half of the success of this company. The other half are people like you, people who stand outside and say, Tonya, I'm going to leave the light on for you. I tell people that being an entrepreneur who, is a woman or who's a person of color, it's like the Underground Railroad. Like, you can't get north by just hopping on a train and taking that train north and saying, hey, here I am, I'm in New York now. Like, your path is circuitous. It's through the cover of night. It's dark. It's scary. It is frustrating. And the only way that you can make it is by people like Kris Kovacs, who say, I'm going to leave the light on for you. So the advice that I have is find good people, find your tribe, find people who are willing to give you a little bit of counsel, make an introduction on your behalf. And then give that back, right? So it's not don't just take that, give that back to the next folks who are coming along. Because this community of good people trying to do good things, that community is the community that will help you. And at the end of the day, that's the community that will change the world together.
Wow. I feel like that's like that should be just the cherry on top. Like, that should be how we finish this entire interview. It's so very inspirational, Tonya. It is easy to support really great people with really great ideas. So very much I am inspired by every conversation we have together. If there's a community institution who's watching this today, how can they reach out to you and learn more about Goalsetter and how to get on board with where you're taking us?
Kris, I am so happy to talk to every community institution. Please feel free to just send me an email. I'm at Tonya, Tanya, at Goalsetter, GOALSETTER.co. Not .com. Don't make that mistake, because it'll bounce back to you and never get to me. .co. So Tonya at Goalsetter.co. Super happy to talk with any community financial institution that is looking for, how do you get to that next generation of your users?
Excellent. Tonya, thank you very much for joining us today.
Kris, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
What an amazing conversation we've had today with Tonya. You can see why she's one of my very favorite people. Please be sure to go check out Goalsetter. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe on your platform of choice and join our Discord server to keep the conversation moving on. We will see you next time.